My abusive foster father became a youth counselor, so I turned him into the criminal he always was. Rick made my life hell for 3 years while collecting monthly checks from the state and using the foster system as his personal bank. He would act kind in front of social workers, and then go right back to making me kneel in the cage that was in his basement. It started with the isolation tactics that seemed like reasonable house rules to outsiders. Rick would ground me for weeks at a time for leaving a glass in the sink, forcing me to stay in my room while he took his biological kids on family outings. He'd lock the kitchen cabinets and refrigerator, giving me 1 meal a day while his real children ate normally. During family gatherings with relatives and social workers present, he'd force me to apologize for things I hadn't done, making me stand in front of everyone and confess to stealing from his wallet. Then he escalated and started getting more physical. I wasn't allowed to sleep more than 3 hours a night because I had to clean the entire house before he woke up. But if I was too loud during cleaning, he would smack a metal rod against my feet and leave me sore for days. During the final year, he started actively threatening me. Rick would corner me in the hallway, press his face close to mine, grab my neck, and then whisper he would end me if I ever told anyone about how he operated his house. The breaking point came during my 18th birthday week, when I was supposed to age out of the system and finally escape. I hated Rick so much by this point that I wanted to leave a banana peel on his desk before leaving as a form of protest. But when I went into his office, I noticed a folder with a picture of me sticking out. I opened it and realized that Rick was keeping track of all the kids he had traumatized. He had notes next to our pictures like, "This one was docile, not rebellious at all." When I saw that he already had his next victim ready, a 10-year-old boy who'd have to endure this for 8 more years, something inside me cracked. I didn't just want to leave anymore, I wanted to protect others as well. So I decided that one day I would come back for Rick and finish what he had started. I spent the next 2 decades building a career in child advocacy and social work, specifically to understand how people like Rick operated and how the system failed to protect kids. When I discovered he'd moved into youth counseling at a residential facility, I knew I had to act quickly. My plan was simple. I'd use my professional credentials and knowledge of the system to get inside his new workplace, document his current behavior, and build an airtight case that would finally expose him for what he really was. I applied for a consulting position at Rick's facility, specializing in trauma-informed care assessment. Walking into his office 20 years later and watching his face drain of color when he recognized me was worth every sleepless night I'd spent getting here. "Hello, Rick," I said, settling into the chair across from his desk. "I'm here to evaluate your counseling methods and ensure compliance with state regulations." Over the following weeks, I observed his sessions through one-way glass, documented his boundary violations, and recorded his inappropriate comments about the children in his care. The patterns were exactly the same. He still used isolation, humiliation, and psychological manipulation disguised as therapy. When I presented my findings to the facility director, Rick tried to discredit me by claiming I had a personal vendetta and was clearly unstable. But my professional reputation and documented evidence spoke louder than his desperate deflections. The investigation expanded when other staff members, emboldened by my report, came forward with their own concerns about Rick's methods. Within a month, 3 former clients had filed formal complaints describing treatment that mirrored exactly what I'd experienced decades earlier. Rick's license was suspended pending a full investigation, and the facility terminated his employment immediately. I even testified at his licensing board hearing, not as a vengeful former victim, but as a credentialed professional who'd witnessed him continuing the same abusive patterns with a new generation of vulnerable children. His license was permanently revoked, his name was placed on the state's child abuse registry, and he was banned from working with minors in any capacity. The last time I saw Rick, he was walking out of the hearing room, his career destroyed and his reputation ruined, finally facing consequences for decades of systematic abuse. The child he'd threatened to keep hurting others became the professional who ensured he never could again.